Hello everyone, this is Suneve, and I'm coming to you with You'll Learn to Love Me, a Yandere Masky X Reader by FluffyWubs. We're going to be starting off with Chapter 17. I silently enter the bedroom, keeping my gaze low to the floor. I hear Masky entering after me and shutting the door behind me after he's inside. Sit. I hear him commanding me. He sure can't be threatening when he wants to. I shuffle over to the bed and take a seat on the side of the bed. My eyes are still pinned to my feet. I'm terrified, to be honest. My hands are trembling in my lap, and I can feel Masky's shadow engulfing me completely. I don't have the guts to look up. Lion. His voice is rough and deep. Look up. I shiver at the tone of his voice, building up courage, and I lift my head up to look at Masky. That mask startles me every time I see it. My eyes tear up as I clench the bottom of my shirt to prevent myself from breaking down. I'm sorry. I know he told me to stop apologizing, but what else can I do here? I feel like he's going to punish me for something I don't even know I did. Masky lets out a questioning hum. Please don't hurt me. I'm sorry. My voice comes out as a meek, soft whisper. Masky is silent for a bit before letting out a soft chuckle. Oh, sunshine, nothing to be sorry for. He lifts his mask over his head to bend down and press his lips against my forehead. I just want to know, what did Dylan ask you about? Masky takes a seat next to me on the bed, placing an arm around my shoulder as if trying to give me the confidence to talk. I furrow my brows in confusion. Why does he suddenly talk about Dylan? What do you mean? I stutter, quickly shifting my gaze to the floor, and Masky smiles at me. Before I arrived at your apartment yesterday, Dylan was with you. I'm sure he asked you a few things, he simply states. How could he possibly know that he came to ask questions? It's something so particular, he can't just randomly guess that one out of the blue. As much as I want to ask him how he knows all of that, I decide not to for my own sake. Well, I trail off. I can feel Masky's gaze bore into my frame. About the, disappearances at my work, I clear my throat. Something about Masky's vibe today feels unnerving. And he urges me to go on, pulling me closer to him until I'm pressed up against his body. And I repeat his words with a shaky voice. Is he expecting something? I think. My mouth runs dry as I bite my bottom lip. I think he was suspecting me of being the culprit. I mutter out my words with a clear nervousness in my tone. Masky makes a soft, understanding noise as I fumble around my fingers. Why does he want to know? Alright, well. Masky places a hand on my upper thigh to hoist himself up onto his feet. I was thinking if Masky was cut off by scratching sounds at the door, followed by loud mewling. Ah, whiskers, of course, I thought. Masky let out some sort of annoyed a grunt. Damn cat, he sneers. Guess he's not a big fan on furry pets. I keep my gaze focused on the door. I really want to let Whiskers in, but the click of a door being opened made me snap out of my thoughts, and next thing I know, I feel something pounce onto my lap without giving me any time to react. I squeak out of surprise when I suddenly feel Whiskers paw at my lap whilst rubbing himself up against my chest. Masky huffs. He takes a quick glance at the door before turning back to look at me. I'm going to have a quick talk with Lou. Stay here, alright? Masky states. I don't even bother to look up at him as I nod, keeping my gaze down on Whiskers with a smile. Last thing I hear is Masky hum before the door closes. I wonder what made him ask those questions. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Ben pursed his lips, pointing his finger at multiple alcohol bottles that were stored in the cabinet. His finger landed on an orange tinto bottle. Jack Daniels it is. Ben snatches the bottle into his hands before closing the cabinet. He popped out the cap of the bottle as he turned his back from the cabinet to take a swig. Before he could, a sudden figure in front of him made him let out a shriek, almost allowing the bottle to slip from his hands. Ben gripped the bottle close to his body and glared at the orange-goggled teen in front of him. Damn, you almost made me drop my drink, Ben scoffs. He was about to brush past Toby until Toby stepped into Ben's way, blocking his path. Ben let out a grunt mixed with a sigh. Alright, what the hell do you want now? Ben furrows his brows in annoyance. Toby grinned from ear to ear. Glad you got the hint. Ben rolled his eyes at Toby's words as he took a sip from his bottle. Right, just get it over with, he grunted. Toby smirked and he had this noticeably mischievous glint in his eyes. That just spelled out trouble. I need you to track Masky's phone, Toby states. Ben narrows his eyes. Oh, no, I'm not tracking any more numbers for you. Ben's face twisted into a scowl as he shoves Toby out of the way, allowing Ben to make his way out of the kitchen. What? Wait, why the hell not? Toby jogged over to catch up to Ben as he made his way up the stairs. Simple. Ben stopped at the top of the stairs and turned around to face Toby, who was frozen on one of the steps. You didn't give me my game from last time, so from now on, get someone else to do your dirty work. Ben scrunches his nose at Toby before walking down the hall to find his room. Toby scoffed. He wasn't going to waste his time on pestering Ben to track Masky, but who else knew how to do such things? There wasn't anyone else that he knew how to track people, right? Toby puffed out his cheeks and rushed over to Ben's door just before he could enter it. Ben took a step back from being startled and glared at the twitching male. Dude, seriously, fuck off. Ben sneers venomously, trying to push Toby away from the door. Toby had his feet firmly planted on the ground. Moving him just felt like trying to move a boulder. How about I get you 2 games? Toby asked with the multiple grunts of Ben's meek attempts of pushing him. Ben paused, looking up at Toby with narrowed eyes while he clutched the bottle. How do I know you're not lying? Ben accused, pointing his pointer finger at Toby from the hand he was holding the bottle with. And Toby grinned. You can only find out if you help me. Ben tightened his lips, eyeing Toby like he was some compulsive liar, but still debating whether he should take the deal or not. After a short battle of prolonged eye contact, Ben finally sighed. Alright, fine, get me a phone with his number in it and I'll get his location. Ben huffed in defeat. Toby's grin faltered. A phone with Masky's number? Pretty sure only Hoodie has Masky's number. I was laying on the bed with my stomach down, one of my hands playing around with whiskers while my other hand was folded up in front of me to serve as a cushion for my head. I felt the need for sleep, but of course I wouldn't allow myself to drift off. I occasionally found myself closing my eyes, but I'd snap my eyes open soon after that to prevent myself from entering dreamland. Masky's been talking with Lou for quite a bit now, hasn't he? I asked myself. Whiskers tilts his head up at the mentioning of Lou and looks around the room before laying his head back down. I let out a yawn as I feel Whiskers' paw at my fingers. What a needy little cat. I giggled tiredly, scratching the top of Whiskers' head. The wind outside was howling like crazy, and never have I heard such strong winds outside. Is there a storm going on? I push myself off the bed and slump over to the window. I look outside, only to see nothing but white. The dead leaves on the ground were covered by a white blanket along with the tall, naked trees. Snow? I gasped. And here I thought I got rid of snowy roads and streets. It's snowing again. For the first time, I actually have the urge to go outside and enjoy the cold. I never really got the chance to enjoy snow since the only thing it did was slow me down to get to my job. Speaking about my job, man, do I miss it. I never thought I'd say such a thing, but I really do. I wanted to go back and just live my normal life again. Work until nighttime and then enjoy my free time at the cafe. I pursed my lips into a thin line. The cafe. I wish I never found out Tim's secret. I wish I could be drinking some coffee along with him. The normal him. The him I used to know. I was so lost in my thoughts that I didn't even hear the click of a doorknob behind me. Princess? I'm pulled out of my thoughts by the sudden voice and spin around on my heels to face the entrance of the room. Masky is standing near the doorframe, his arms crossed over his chest and his head slightly cocked to the side. What are you doing? He questions. His voice sounded curious, yet mixed with a tint of anger. I was just... I stammer, quickly stepping away from the window. I was just looking at the snow. My voice comes out as a mumble as I quickly lower my head in anxiousness. Masky doesn't say a word for a couple of seconds before he decides to speak up. Do you want to go out? He asks. I was surprised by his question, making me jolt my head up. Really? Can he read my mind? Out where? I questioned. Outside, for a walk, if you want, that is. Masky shrugged his shoulders, leaning himself against the doorframe. Does he mean an actual walk, or a walk that will lead me up to my death? Either way, I guess I'm taking that chance. I really need to get some fresh air. Yeah, okay. I reply nervously. I can't really see it, but judging by the tone of Masky's voice, he sounds like he's smiling. Great. I'll go ask Lou for some warm clothes. Masky states as he heads out the door. Knock knock, Toby cooed, opening up the door to the room he shared with the other 2 proxies, which was now down to just one. Hoodie was on his bed, a book held neatly in his hands as he stared down at it with a concealed face. By the time the door opened, Hoodie lifted his head up from his book, staring at the youngest proxy. Judging by his posture, he seemed clearly annoyed by being disturbed from his peaceful reading. Toby swooped in the room with his arms innocently behind his back. Can I borrow your phone? Toby dragged out his vowels, slightly rocking on his heels. Hoodie stared at Toby for what seemed like an eternity before looking back down to his book with a simple and short no. Toby scoffed, dropping his innocent and squeaked at. Come on, do me a solid here, Toby whined. Hoodie huffed, burying his face deeper in his book. Go pester someone else, Rogers, Hoodie fumed, practically hiding his face in the book. Toby scoffed, stomping over to Hoodie's bed, and Hoodie arched a brow underneath his mask, curiously glancing at Toby. Hoodie, please, Toby begged, clasping his hands together and getting on his knees beside the bed. Hoodie huffed once more, nothing but a childish act. But that's what you can expect from someone like Toby. Leave Masky be, he'll get his punishment on his own eventually, Hoodie stated. Toby blinked. What? How did you know I was... Confusion was plastered on Toby's face. You never ask me for my phone unless it has something to do with Masky, so no, you're not getting my phone, Hoodie firmly states. Flipping over a page of his book with his fingers, Toby pouts behind his mouth guard. Of course, Hoodie wouldn't give his phone away so easily. You shouldn't force the consequences to get to him. Let him get it naturally. I'm sure he'll learn his lesson. Hoodie relaxed himself, shifting his spot for a more comfortable position. Toby scoffed. Damn Hoodie, trying to act all smart with his words. Fine, I'll go look for him myself, Toby announced loudly before stomping out of the room. The door slammed shut after Toby left, only making Hoodie shake his head. Idiot. Lou offered me some rather warm and woolly clothes that previously belonged to his girlfriend. He insisted on me wearing them, even if I tried to deny it, since I did feel a bit bad to put them on. You know, because they're clothes that now belong to someone deceased. He gave me a light blue sweater along with a thick winter jacket and some gloves, that would surely keep me warm. I decided to keep my old pants on since the ones Lou had for me weren't much different. I zipped the jacket up to my neck and pulled the hood over my head, which had false fur around it. Okay, that should do it, I hummed to myself, slipping on my gloves. Whiskers hopped off the bed, staring at me with his big, curious eyes. I guess he wasn't used to seeing me in different clothes. After sniffing at my pants, he mewed, rubbing himself up against it like he always does. I smile and give him a quick pat on the head before exiting my room with Whiskers trailing close behind. I carefully take small steps down the stairs, being careful about not slipping or anything along those lines. I enter the living room, seeing nobody else besides Lou. Masky must be outside waiting for me, I guess. Lou was sitting on the couch, but by hearing my footsteps, he looks over his shoulder before turning himself around, leaning on the backrest of the couch. He smiles. Masky's outside, in case you're wondering. You look just like her. Lou suddenly slams his hand on his mouth as his cheeks gain a red tint. I had already assumed that his deeper voice would be his alter personality, but I still wasn't sure. But judging how Lou's face colored red from embarrassment, it was probably the alter ego that said that. Sorry. Lou quickly apologizes after removing his hands from his mouth, and he clears his throat. I mean, you look nice. He nervously chuckled. I beam. Thank you. I'll go meet up with Masky, I smile. Lou nods, and I head to the door before opening it, and I notice Whiskers rush over to my side. Does he want to go outside too? Is he allowed? Oh, Whiskers just likes to roam around outside sometimes. He knows his way back. Lou waves his hands, giving me permission to let Whiskers out. Oh, alright. I open the door, allowing Whiskers to step outside. The snow doesn't seem to bother him at all, and once he gets out, he just goes his own way, leaving little paw imprints on the snow. I shut the door behind me once I'm outside and notice Masky near the garage door. His mask was slightly lifted up and his lips held something in between them. Is that a cigarette? Once he notices me, he grins. Ah, sunshine. He flicks his cigarette away, which immediately becomes extinguished by the snow. I didn't know he smoked. You smoke? The words somehow escape my lips unwillingly, and I almost regret asking. Masky lets out a nervous chuckle. Yeah, I try not to do it around you so much, so don't worry. He reassures me and offers me his gloved hand, and I have no other choice but to allow him to take my hand in his. Well, off we go. That is the end of that chapter. The chapter after that one is chapter 18. If you guys enjoyed that, please do let me know, and I will see you guys in the next video. Until next time, bye-bye.